morning. Today, you're going to learn the secret to happiness. All in 20 minutes. You know, a lot of people have a formula for happiness, for achieving happiness. If you go to any bookstore, have you ever looked in the self-help section? There are shelves and shelves of books about happiness, how to be happy. It's really amazing. It's a real need. And, you know, these authors believe they have the formula for achieving happiness. And if you buy their book and follow their formula, you too will achieve happiness. And, you know, I'm sure that there's really good advice in all of these books, no doubt. But the approach, kind of the premise is a little flawed. This idea that happiness is something to be achieved, right? That happiness can be, it's out here somewhere, and we need to get it, and we need to achieve it. And, you know, it's kind of natural that we think that way. The world, at least this Western world, is kind of set up like that. We are structured around this idea that happiness is something to be achieved, and in order to achieve it, you have to do some specific things, most of which involve getting as much of whatever the world has to offer as possible, right? Is that kind of what we grew up believing? You know, it's even in our Constitution. We have the freedom to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I think it's that underlying message that drives a lot of us from the time, you know, we're teenagers, to get good grades in school, so we can get into a good college, so that we can get a good job, so that we can make some good money, so we can find a good mate who will love us, and then buy a good home and a nice car, and plan for our retirement, so that eventually we can retire and finally experience happiness. Think about it. Now, there's nothing wrong with those things. Absolutely nothing wrong with any of those things. It's just that if we believe that we need to have those things in order to be happy, that those things in and of themselves bring us happiness, if that's the assumption that we're working under, we will, at some point, become disillusioned. Disillusioned is an interesting word. We're distancing ourselves from the illusion. We're actually becoming unattached to the illusion. The illusion that happiness is something to be pursued, to something that we need to get. You know, if we keep following what the world tells us will bring us happiness, undoubtedly at some point we'll become disillusioned, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. In fact, I would guess that brings many people onto a spiritual path. Brings many of us into a spiritual exploration, right? In New Thought and in most progressive spirituality, we understand that happiness is not something outside of us. It's not something to be achieved. Nobody can give it to us. We understand that happiness is within us. It's just we don't always know how to connect with that inside happiness. We don't always know how to open and allow that lasting joy to experience that lasting joy in our lives. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And you know, happiness, bless you. I say it from the pulpit, bless you. It's a special meaning. So happiness, or, you know, joy, is our true spiritual state. It's our true spiritual state. Source energy is joy. And as expressions of source energy, we are joy expressing. And so that is our natural state. And the more that we are connected with source, the more that we are aligned with and are expressing our true spiritual state, the more we experience our innate happiness. Simple. Right? The thing is, there are many blocks to that connection with Source. There are many things that can pull us out of alignment with our true spiritual self. And then we experience happiness being eclipsed. So we're going to be looking at that, like what are those blocks to the natural flow of joy in our lives? How can we realign ourselves with our true spiritual innate state, our innate happiness? So one of the things that we actually talked about the week before last, if you remember, we kind of touched on this, is this idea that we want to shift from a getting mentality to a giving mentality. Shifting from a what's in it for me thinking to a what can I give? How can I be a blessing? That shift puts us in alignment with our innate joy, because now we're working in the flow of the universe. We're working the way the universe works. The universe is perpetually giving of itself. It is eternally sharing of its abundance. That's just the nature of life. And we're life energy expressing, so that's our nature. It is our nature. So if we're over here trying to get happiness, trying to get something that'll make us happy, not only are we first, affirming that we don't already have, but it pulls us out of alignment with our source, with our natural state of happiness. It's a spiritual law that whatever we're not getting, we're not giving. Whatever area of your life that you feel is missing or lacking, you don't have enough, you're experiencing not getting what you need or you want, give. Seek to give of that same thing. So, for example, if you feel that you're not getting enough love and respect in your relationships, try giving more love and respect in your relationships. Watch that turn around. If you feel that you don't have enough time, I just feel like I don't have enough time, give of your time to others and see how that shifts. If you feel you don't have enough joy, do something to give someone else joy. If you're experiencing not having enough money, give. Circulate it. Initiate that process of circulation and watch how this all turns around. Now, I know it feels counterintuitive, right? It just feels like, what? I don't have. I need to get more of. How can I give what I don't have? But really, you're working in accord with how the universe works. You're in harmony with the natural flow of the universe, and life energy flows through you. Abundance flows through. You're in the flow of abundance. You're in the flow of joy. So, in all ways, when we just seek to be a giver to life, that puts us in exact alignment with our true spiritual innate nature, our true nature. All right, so secondly, the point I was making last week about dealing with disappointment. Dealing with disappointment is really all in how you hold it. And we talked about, the more attached we are to a specific outcome, the more we resist that disappointing experience, the more we suffer. But we have the power to shift our perception. We have the power to see differently. We have the ability to open to what that alternative experience can give us. And usually when something doesn't turn out as we'd wanted, as we hoped, disappointing, our initial response is, oh, God, no. Why? Why can't it be the way I imagined it? But if we can open our heart, stay centered in our spiritual awareness, be conscious, that alternative experience, that new reality can turn around and be the most amazing thing that we could have ever imagined, better than we could have ever planned. Hasn't that happened to you before? Yeah. Oh, I couldn't even have planned it. I just thought this was going to be, but look at all the blessings this has for me. That's what we're talking about. And, it goes for everything in our lives, for every part of our lives. As we shift, we have the power to shift how we see things, how we respond to things, therefore how we experience life. How many of you have heard of Viktor Frankl? Oh, a lot of you, yeah. He was a survivor of the Nazi concentration camps. Barely, but he survived. And not only did he survive, but he went on to thrive and become a really celebrated author, psychologist, lecturer. I think he wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah, you know that? One of the famous, you probably know this famous saying that he has, and it goes like this: between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. In our response lies our growth in our freedom. So as we do this consciously, we're growing and developing more of our innate qualities. We're developing more of our inner strength, more of our inner creativity. We're developing more connection with our inner guidance, more of our connection with our inner wisdom. We're strengthening our inner wisdom. We are developing our ability to be able to see the blessing in everything, which, by the way, is a really good way to bring yourself back into alignment with your true spiritual self, being able to see the blessing in everything. So as I talked many times here before, practicing proactive gratitude. You've heard me say that before, right? Practicing proactive gratitude hones that ability to see the blessing in everything. But it's a practice. It is a practice. So we can begin the practice with, you start easy, you like going to the gym. You start with a few reps, and then you build up and build up. So we start with this idea of looking for the obvious things, focusing on being grateful for all the big, obvious things in our life, the people who love us, our family members, our good health, this beautiful planet that we have the privilege of living on, the spiritual community that supports us in our growth and loves us. All the obvious things, right? And so that's easy, but once we've kind of gotten that going, then we can sort of move on to being grateful for the ordinary things in our life. The ordinary things we wouldn't normally think of as a blessing, but to someone else, maybe, say, a refugee in a detention camp, might seem like a gift from heaven. A clean bed, running water, the ability to get up and get in your car and drive somewhere, your own space. These ordinary things are true blessings, and as we acknowledge them and are grateful for them, we're building the strength of this power of gratitude within us, and we are opening up to more and more blessings pouring through us because we are in alignment with that innate state of happiness. So we are strengthening this ability. Now we can expand our practice to begin to see the blessing in those things that they feel wrong, right? Or they feel like they're missing. Or it feels like just, less than good. Those things. Now, admittedly, that takes work. That takes practice. But here's the thing. Again, we have divine wisdom within us. Every one of us has the power of divine wisdom, and we can activate that power, which can lift our awareness from kind of the narrow human-only thinking. Lift our awareness up to be able to see a higher perspective, a more universal perspective, where we can then, from that place, we can see the blessing. We can see the blessing from that place. So again, the practice of proactive gratitude, it puts us directly in alignment with our innate happiness. We are centered in the energy of happiness, and joy is pouring through us and into our lives. I promise you, this is what it can do. Okay, the third way that I want to talk about today, the third idea is about harvesting. This month is, the theme this month is harvesting. We're in harvest time. So every seed, every pod, every acorn has within it its own unique coding that instructs it to become whatever it is it's supposed to be, some unique expression of life. And as it grows and develops, it grows into its full potential and gives of itself to life in its own unique way. So for example, a sunflower, comes a little sunflower seed. That inside that sunflower is the coding for it to grow into and become a magnificent sunflower. Not a rose, not a chrysanthemum, the sunflower. And it has everything that it needs in that seed to become that. And as it develops into its full potential, it shares of itself with the world, which is beauty, which is seed. It shares of its abundance of seeds, which we use for food and, snack, make a good snack. We bake it into bread. We use it for oil. Many blessings. An acorn has within that acorn, the unique coding for it to grow and develop and to become what it's encoded to be, which is an oak tree. And again, has everything necessary inside that little acorn for becoming and growing into that giant oak tree. Not a pine, not a birch, an oak tree. And as it grows and expresses its full potential, it shares of its gifts, its many gifts, with a shade. Oh, glorious shade for this warming planet. It's a home for birds and squirrels. It actually helps to clean the CO2 from our atmosphere. We love trees. So many blessings in trees. So, we are nature's children. We are connected with, the natural process of nature. We are this one life. We are this one life expressing in a unique way, but it's that same one life. And so we have within us, from the time we're born, we have within us our own unique coding that instructs us to grow and become a unique expression of the divine, a unique expression of this life energy. And as we grow and develop into our full potential, we can then share of our unique gifts into the world in our unique way. Right? But if we ignore that unique coding, our unique gift, and we instead listen to what the world is telling us will make us happy, and we go for that, that will definitely pull us off our alignment with our true spiritual self. So for instance, if I have a unique coding within me that grows and develops and sort of weaves my own unique combination of gifts and talents and abilities that eventually wants to grow and emerge as, say, a spiritual leader, maybe a unity minister. And then if I ignore that, though, and for whatever reason, too much work. Doesn't pay enough. People, a minister, and people, my friends that I knew when I was in my 20s, they're still laughing. You're a minister? Really? You? Okay. So, and then if I ignore it, and then for whatever reason, and then I listen to what the world is telling me is going to make me happy, and if I'm living in Los Angeles, those messages are entertainment business. That's an exciting career. That, you can get rich doing that, and then you're going to be really happy. And so, that's really kind of what happened, right? That's what happened. That was kind of my story until I woke up. Until I found that unique blueprint. It's sort of a blueprint. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have a choice on what our livelihood is, and I don't believe in fate. And also that expression, our unique expression, can change and morph through our lifetimes. We're all living nice long lives, and that can take different shapes, different hues, different expressions. But it all sort of is tied to a unique kind of combination of your own gifts, your own abilities, your own kind of combination that is coded. We're talking about divine purpose here. It's our divine purpose. And the more that we are connected with that divine purpose, that's our sweet spot. That's our sweet spot. Life energy is always seeking to emerge from us, through us, as us, in our own unique individual way. Robert Browning called it the imprisoned splendor. Remember that? And it goes, there is an inmost center in us all, where truth abides in fullness. And to know rather consists in opening out a way where the imprisoned splendor may escape than in effecting entry for a light supposed to be without. Allowing that imprisoned splendor. It's all here. It's all complete. It's fully there within us. And it's just a matter of bringing ourselves into alignment with it, which we do, again, by shifting from a getting mentality to a giving mentality, seeking to give whatever it is we think we don't have, shifting our perception to be able to see and be open to the experience, what's here now, see the blessing in it that we develop through the practice of proactive gratitude, to connect with our own unique divine purpose, our own internal coding of what it is that makes our heart sing. That aligns us with our true spiritual self, and we can allow that innate happiness to shine, to fully emerge, fully expressing that imprisoned splendor. And then we become a shining light for others. Like, oh, this is possible. This is possible to live like this from the inside out. And other people see that and go, okay, that's good. Where can I get some of that? And you'll know what to tell them. UCP. All right, namaste.